Welcome back. The traditional Thanksgiving meal will, of course, be served in just 4 days, but the shopping hopefully has already begun. How much money you'll be spending for the traditional holiday meal, turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, gravy, vegetables, pie with whipped cream, of course. Well, the American Farm Bureau, they did the math, and the calculations this year show it'll be about $58.08 to serve 10 people. That's down from last year, but still notably higher than before the pandemic. Here to talk about grocery costs is Wayne Pesce. He's the president of the Connecticut Food Association. Wayne, thank you for being with us. So 5808, what do you make of the big number?
Well, hello, Eric. It's always nice to see you. I think that we sit here today, a couple of days before Thanksgiving, cautiously optimistic regarding food prices and some of the information coming out on food prices. So cautiously optimistic.
So they went into the Farm Bureau. They said turkey was down, milk was down. The things that were up were things like stuffing and rolls because labor costs were up. Tell us about the components of a Thanksgiving meal. I don't need you to give their numbers. You're the expert here in Connecticut. So what should people expect to be up? What should they expect to be down, Wayne?
Well, the good news is consumers on traditional items, the plate will cost less this year. Turkey prices are down by as much as 11% versus prior. Ham prices are projected to drop about 2.5%. Potatoes are down 3.5%, and other items like apples and fresh cranberries are down, and frozen pies are down slightly. There are some other items that you'll pay a little bit more for, but overall the cost of the plate will be less expensive than it was a year ago. But I think things are still a bit sideways. We've had this conversation over the past couple of years, you and I, and there are so many macro factors that are impacting some of these items that it's really difficult for consumers to go in there and gauge, the value sometimes, I think.
What are the factors? I was just going to ask about that because what are some of the factors that you look at? Because it's, sometimes it might just be that there's something, a certain crop was really affected and it could be a very food specific item. But in other cases, it's things like fuel costs and labor costs and overall inflation. So take me more to that macro level. What are the things that you consider overall in determining where we're at?
Well, I think you hit on a couple of the key factors, which, we've got rising labor costs here in the state, which obviously are going to impact the cost of your groceries. Transportation and electric costs are all up. Those are all factored into cost increases. But I think the reason why you're seeing things starting to come back down is that those supply disruptions, those supply chain disruptions that we were seeing 2 and 3 years ago have kind of straightened themselves out and we're into a new normal. If you take a look at October, for example, the price index in October, I think the CPI index, the consumer price index, was up about 0.2%, and that increase was driven by housing costs. Grocery prices really weren't impacted in October, and they're only up about 1.1% for the year. So we've seen some deflationary circumstances in food price, and some of that was due to, all of the disruptions that we saw in our supply chains and our ability to get products to the market. So I think we're going in the right direction. I think, you always ask me every year, and I'll kind of let the cat out of the bag early this year, what should we be concerned about? Egg prices are up from, a normal $2.99 to about $5.99. And, that has nothing to do with labor or electricity costs. That's a commodity, and there are supply chain and bird issues. So people are paying more this year around Thanksgiving for eggs, and everybody's going to use those when they bake. But a lot of the other items on the plate are down. So we still see a very volatile sideways market, but I think we're landing the ship compared to the last 2 years where we saw increases of 22 and 26% back to back.
Yeah, big numbers. One thing I want to ask you about is what's coming in January when a new administration will be taking the helm down in Washington. I saw a Time magazine article talking specifically about food prices, and it said if President Trump, when he's sworn in, does impose tariffs overseas, it could be a big impact on grocery prices. Is that something you'll be watching, or are you concerned about it at all?
Look, first of all, there's not a lot of meat on the bone, so to speak, in terms of who those countries are. We know what the items are based on what the country might be. So I don't know that, items coming from Canada or Mexico because of the North American trade deal are going to be impacted much. You might have some imported items from places such as Spain and Italy. Um, that could be impacted, and some items like produce and bananas and things of that nature that could be impacted because they come from South and Central America. So I think we're all in a wait and see mode to see where these tariffs may or may not land. And again, I just don't know, how many food items are, if food items are going to be impacted by these tariffs.
Yeah, obviously, we're all going to just have to wait and see. We only have a little bit over a minute left, but I want to ask you about something that's been a local news story lately. And that was this. I guess it was some kind of system IT hacking with Stop and Shop that led to some disruptions in inventory. Just because a lot of our viewers are going to be heading to the grocery store, will they be seeing that? Is there an effect? Is there a plan? We have less than a minute left, Wayne.
Yeah, I don't see that as a major disruption. I mean, it obviously, if you're a government or a business or any type of entity, you're at risk to cyber attacks. They are dealing with that. They have history on prior sales. They are filling in manually where they need to. I think people are going to be fine shopping there over the next couple of days and weeks in terms of supply.
All right, Wayne, we appreciate it. As always, good information. And as people head to the store, they'll say they heard it here first. Thank you so much for being with us.